Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Sri Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Yeah, Vijay whenever you're ready, you can start Mati. I'll share my screen.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Navaram Cheva Narottamam Devin Saraswati Vyasam Tato Muriraye Nashta Preshu Abhareshu Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhakti Bhavati Nasteke. Today we are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 32, Entanglement in Fruitive Activities, text 12 through 24. Text 12 through 15. My dear mother, someone may worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead with a special self-interest, but even demigods such as Lord Brahma, great sages such as the Sanat Kumara, and great munis such as Marishi have to come back to the material world again at the time of creation. When the interaction of the three modes of material nature begins, Brahma, who is the creator of this cosmic manifestation and who is full of Vedic knowledge, and the great sages, who are the authors of the spiritual path and the yoga system, come back under the influence of the time factor. They are liberated by their non-fruitive activities and attain the first incarnation of the Purusha. But at the time of creation, they come back in exactly the same forms and positions they previously had. Text 16. Persons who are too addicted to this material world execute their prescribed duties very nicely and with great faith. They daily perform all such prescribed duties with attachment to the fruitive result. Text 17. Such persons, impelled by the mode of passion, are full of anxieties and always aspire for sense gratification due to uncontrolled senses. They worship the forefathers and are busy day and night improving the economic condition of their family, social, or national life. Text 18. Such persons are called Trayvargika because they are interested in the three elevating processes. They are averse to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who can give relief to the conditioned soul. They are not interested in the Supreme Personality's pastimes, which are worth hearing because of his transcendental prowess. Text 19. Such persons are condemned by the supreme order of the Lord because they are adverse to the nectar of the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are compared to stool-eating hogs. They give up hearing the transcendental activities of the Lord and indulge in hearing of the abominable activities of the materialistic persons. Text 20. Such materialistic persons are allowed to go to the planet called Pitraloka by the southern course of the sun, but they again come back to this planet and take birth in their own families, beginning again the same fruitive activities from birth to the end of life. Text 21. When the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they fall down by higher arrangement and again come back to this planet. Just as any person raised to a high position sometimes all of a sudden falls. Text 22. My dear mother, I therefore advise that you take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for his lotus feet are worth worshipping. Accept this with all devotion and love, for thus you can be situated in transcendental devotional service. Text 23. Engagement in Krishna consciousness and application of devotional service unto Krishna make it possible to advance in knowledge and detachment, as well as in self-realization. Text 24. The exalted devotee's mind becomes equipoised in sensory activities, and he is transcendental to that which is agreeable and not agreeable. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vidya Hare Krishna. So we'll offer brief prayers and we'll continue. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's an important section in the conversation between Mother Devahuti and Kapila that we are hearing. We are in the third canto, 32nd chapter. The first few sections I will briefly summarize and then we can go to the current section for today. So basically, in the first part of this chapter, we heard Kapila actually, Kapil Dev in this chapter is describing different kinds of worshippers. And that's what he's doing. So in the first section, he described about Sakama Karmis. Sakama Karmis, that means those who are doing different regulations in scriptures to attain something. For example, you probably know from Bhagavad Gita Yoga Ladder, the very bottom is people who don't know anything, who don't care about anything, no purpose of life, no God in the picture, just enjoy. That's the only purpose in their life. That is like animalistic tendencies. That is, they're not even in the Vedic picture of elevation in the life, in the elevation of consciousness at all. Above them is people who are Sakama Karmis. That means they engage in Karmakanda sacrifices that is prescribed in scriptures. For example, you get a wonderful boy, wonderful son if you go perform this Putra Kamishti Yagna, or you get a better life in heavenly planets, Swargaloka or Pitruloka or moon planet, if you do this prescribed regulatory activities every day nicely like that. So they at least are better than the animalistic tendencies, people with animalistic tendencies, because they're at least being a human by following the religious scriptures, by following Vedic regulations, by taking association of Brahmanas. Actually, they will also gradually, very slowly, but gradually elevate, but very, very slow, unfortunately. So that is Sakama Karma worshippers. We'll hear more about them in today's section also. And then after that second section, second theme that Kapil Dev explained was Nishkama Karma worshippers. That means detached workers. Those who engage in work but not for the fruity results like that. So he described that also. In the just before the last section, he described how sometimes they can attain the Lord, but very, very gradual process also. Very slow, very gradual process, they can attain the Lord also. That's what we heard. And then in the third section, which is the section that is we are in now, he starts to describe the Hiranyagarbha worshippers. So who are these Hiranyagarbha worshippers? We heard there are two categories of these people, the worshippers. Basically, they're worshipping the Virat Rupa or the universal form of the Supreme Lord, number one. But what are they relating that with? Some kind of worshippers are, they think Lord Brahma, Virat Rupa is representation of Lord Brahma only. So that means they're not worshipping in the context of anything in relation to Vishnu or Supreme Lord. They're only worshipping in terms of demigod Brahma only. So they will not get the liberation. They will only go all the way up to Brahmaloka and then they come back. Even come back means even when the pralaya happens, when the whole annihilation happens, when Lord Brahma goes to the Karnaduksha Vishnu's stomach, even at that time, after again when creation comes, they come back again. Even though they're going to Mahavishnu's body, they'll come back again. Because they did not worship Supreme Lord with bhakti. There's no element of bhakti at all. Okay, that is one category of people, Hiranyagarbha worshippers. Another category of Hiranyagarbha worshippers are those who are worshipping Virat Rupa with the understanding that that's a representation of Vishnu. So, because there's some element of bhakti, they will get a gradual liberation with some bhakti. So there's a two kind of worshippers we are seeing in this section. We'll go through the 12th verse onwards today. We'll see some more. So So there are 2 points to capture in this section, two major themes. One is only with the bhakti to Supreme Lord, we can achieve liberation beyond this material world and go to spiritual world where there's eternal life full of knowledge and bliss. That is one thing, only with bhakti. And that's the direct process also. With bhakti, we can easily go there. That's one theme. Second thing is, without having the proper knowledge of what we are doing, even if we are thinking that we are doing some bhakti, but we're doing so many things, but without proper understanding of Sambandha Gnana, our relationship with the Supreme Lord, then we may tend to go into wrong direction. That will only lead to more and more material life only, birth and death cycle like that. That's the second theme to note. So what that should impel us to do? That should inspire us to understand the Sambandha Gnana properly, to understand what we are doing, why we are doing properly, with the help of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. That's the two important themes. We'll go through this, but you'll see the themes as they're coming as we go through the sections. So today's section is from verse 12 to 24 in the third canto, that second chapter. So go into verse 12 to 15 are together. So we'll go through that. This verse is talking about, let me see the previous verse. Previous verse, 11th verse, if you notice, this section is like a summary of this whole gnana that Kapil Dev gave. Remember, Kapil Dev talked about Sankhya Yoga, Kapil Dev talked about yoga, then gnana section also, and then finally he talked about bhakti also in the beginning. So now he's summarizing in this section how bhakti is the best to his mother, like that. Through his mother, actually, is instructing all of us. So in the 11th verse, he says, therefore, my dear mother, by devotional service, take direct shelter of Supreme Lord, who is seated in everyone's heart. So basically, the two aspects we heard in the Friday's session. Basically, he's telling that for you, you have me as your son already. You're directly situated in bhakti. Please continue in bhakti only. Don't worry about all the sakama, nishkama. These things are not for you. That is one thing he's telling. Second thing is, bhakti is the direct path for liberation. That's the other point is coming across. Now, continuing to 12th and 15th verse today, he's saying what happens to those people who are Hiranyagarbha worshippers, those who are worshipping Virat Rupa, but with not proper understanding that they're not seeking Supreme Lord at all. They're not worshipping Virat Rupa in connection with Supreme Lord at all. And they're thinking they're independent. They're worshippers of Lord Brahma only. What happens to them? Here, what's saying is someone may worship Supreme Person of Godhead with a special self interest. But even demigods like Brahma, Sanat Kumara, Munis have to come back to the material world at the time of creation. So this is the first one category of people I described, worshippers I described, where they're not worshipping in relation to Supreme Lord. So those kind of people, what happens? At the end of Brahma's life, they go to Karnadasa Vishnu's body, but then they come back again at the time of material creation. That is what this verse is describing. In the purport, Prabhupada makes a clear statements. He says, Brahma becomes liberated is known to everyone, but he cannot liberate his devotees. Demigods like Brahma and Shiva cannot give liberation to any living entity. So, Prabhupada is indicating the point that if somebody has inclination to think that they are independent of Supreme Lord, that means they are the doers, like that, or they worship some demigods, they might at best go to the demigod planet, but they don't cannot go beyond material world to spiritual world. That is the point Prabhupada is making here. So that means even, and also Prabhupada mentions in the purport that even Brahma himself, not all Brahmas are perfect in devotion service. Even if Brahma himself is not a devotee, then he will not get liberation himself. At the time of material creation, he comes back again, like that Prabhupada is indicating. If that happens to Brahma himself, who is the supermost living entity on this material universe, then what happens to the people who are worshipping Brahma? That is the point Prabhupada is emphasizing here. So basically, the point is, if somebody thinks I'm like Supreme Lord himself, I'm one with the Supreme Lord, and or I am the doer, there's no one beyond me. Like that, they can never achieve the liberation. That's the theme Prabhupada expresses the purport nicely for us. So, and Prabhupada also gives a solution already, which is we should take up devotion service in full Krishna consciousness and become liberated by developing transcendental loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is a solution what to do. So what not to do is don't think we are the doer. And when we are worshiping somebody, don't think that I can worship this God, this God, this God, this God. Doesn't matter. All of them will go to same place, same destination. That is the incorrect understanding that we know from Bhagavad Gita, and the same thing is emphasized in Srimad Bhagavatam also. Because if you worship only demigods, you can only go to the demigod planet only. You cannot go to spiritual world, which is permanent. What is the drawback of going to demigod planet? We'll see in the coming verses also again. Now, in the 16th verse onwards, 16th to 22nd verses, we'll hear what is the drawback of Sakama Karmi's worship like that. So meaning, what is the drawback of being a Sakama Karmi? For example, these in the previous verse we heard how somebody may even at the end of creation, at the time of annihilation, they might go to Mahavishnu's body also. But then they had to come back again. What do they do when they come back? They engage again in the same Sakama Karma activities. That means engage in fruitive activities, thinking that I will go to heavenly planet and enjoy like that. So in the text 16, so in one sense, this is the extension of the first section of this chapter, where the first four verses, we heard about how Sakama Karma worshippers, they engage in different kind of prescribed duties just to get elevation to higher planets. Especially, they go through the path of the moon, like that is described. So this is extension of that, but it is criticizing them in the sense Bhagavatam is criticizing such kind of worship.
That's right.
Yes, Prabhuji. Okay, yeah, in the 16th verse, he's saying persons who are too addicted to this material world execute their prescribed duties very nicely and with great faith. They daily perform all such prescribed duties with attachment to the fruity results. So this is the important aspect. So good aspect is they're performing prescribed duties very nicely, which is important. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna emphasizes that we should perform prescribed duties. But why they are doing the prescribed duties with great faith? Because they want to get a higher enjoyment, better enjoyment in the material world itself, in a higher planet, Swargaloka, moon planet, like that. That is their motivation. That is what is being condemned here in this section of the Bhagavatam. Not that you should not do prescribed duties. We should all do prescribed duties, but understanding that how they can be dovetailed, how they can help us to progress in Krishna consciousness, to progress towards Krishna, to progress towards worship of Vishnu, Narayana, like that. Not like, and not to get good to Swargaloka like that. That is what is being condemned here. So generally, there are two kinds of activities that are prescribed in Vedas for this kind of Sakama karmis. One is Nitya karmas, that means you do it daily, certain nice regulations like to doing Three Sandhya, Gayatri chanting, for example, like that. Some regular activities they do prescribed. That for a higher fruitive results, number one. Number two, another activities is specific activities for a specific result only. Like we discussed how Putra Kamishti Yagna, that only to get sun. That is a specific fruitive activity. Whereas general activities do regular devotional activity, regular duties properly like that, right? This is a specific activity. This is called Kamya Karma. Other one is called Nitya Karma. This is called Kamya Karma. So these both of them they are doing nicely, following Vedas. But what they're doing? They're doing it for higher enjoyment in material life only. And the drawback of that we'll see more here. What is saying next verse? Text 17. Such persons are impelled by mode of passion. Mode of passion means I want this, like that. Hankering. That is mode of passion. One of the main characteristics we know from Bhagavad Gita. Then what happens? Even though they are doing such activities for a higher result, they are full of anxieties. and they always aspire for sense gratification due to uncontrolled senses, because they're always trying to enjoy more and more and more and more. Senses cannot be controlled in this way also. And what do they do? They worship the forefathers and are busy day and night improving the economic condition of their family, social, and national life. So it's not wrong to earn money and try to get enough money for our living, for taking care of a family, for taking care of contributing to our society, contributing to community for spiritual development is not wrong. But thinking that that is the goal of life, that is the only purpose of life, that is what is wrong in scripture, as described in scriptures. Meaning, when we spend all our time and energy in just earning money and enjoying, giving to our family members only, and there's no time, energy, enthusiasm left for spiritual life at all, then what are we doing? We're losing the ultimate goal, which is to develop Krishna Prema, to engage in Krishna Bhakti. That we are losing. And what is happening because of that losing? We'll again take birth again, either in this planet or a different universe or in different body. And we'll again be subjected to same suffering we hear about in scriptures. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi, birth, death, old age, diseases, and the threefold miseries. Miseries due to one's own body and mind, miseries due to other living entities, miseries due to natural disturbances. Those will always keep on coming. We're not making a permanent solution. So what do we need to do? We need to reserve some time for making a permanent solution to go back to our pure devotion service to Krishna. While we take care of whatever duties we need to take care of, that is a sign of intelligence. Because without this, we're losing all the time. It's like, for example, our boss gives a project to achieve by end of the year, you need to complete this assignment. So now we don't spend any even 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day on that goal. But we do everything else that everybody wants in the world. What will happen? Boss will not be happy. Similar to that, if we don't spend our time in spiritual life for our own ultimate benefit and do everything else, then what will happen? We're not achieving the ultimate goal. That is what is being described here. Going to the next verse, in 18th verse, such kind of persons are described as Trivargika because they're interested in three elevating processes. So Prabhupada describes the purport. There are four elevating processes in Vedic culture: Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Interestingly, even Dharma, Artha, Kama are indicated as elevating process. Why is that? Because there's a gradual elevation prescribed in the Vedas like that. But some don't care about the moksha liberation aspect. They only care about Dharma, Artha, Kama. I do some pious activity nicely, so I get more money. When I get more money, then I do more enjoyment. So my goal is sense enjoyment. Stop there, basically. That's what is being described here. Such a person who is fully attached to sense enjoyment like that, they are averse to Supreme Lord Krishna. Then, but only Supreme Lord can give relief to the conditioned soul. So they're not interested in Krishna and they're not interested in hearing Krishna Katha also. That means when there's a opportunity comes where they can hear Krishna Katha, they'll say, oh, I'm so busy. I have office work to do. I have to take care of children. I have to take care of something else at home, like that. It's not wrong to take care of children, to take care of family, to take care of office duties. It is important to carve out time in our life for hearing Krishna Katha, to cultivate spiritual life also. That is the important point. That means, for example, we all need to balance. Sometimes we need to take care of family more, for example. We may not be able to hear much one week, whole week. So even though we carve out little time at least to hear. But that should not be everyday affair for a 1 month, 1 year, 10 years, lifetime like that. That is the point being stressed. For example, sometimes maybe there's an office deliverable. We may need to work extra hours for 1 week. That's okay. But that should not be affair for whole month, whole year, whole life like that. That's what is being discussed here. So, such a people, what do? They don't have interest in Krishna Kada, but they'll hear other topics. Generally, it's described people of small minds are interested in hearing about other people. What are the other people doing? What is this politician doing? What is this celebrity doing? Like that. People of average mind are interested in knowing events. What happened there? What happened here? Like that. They spend their time like that. People of great mind think about, are interested in wisdom like that. So, but people with lower consciousness, they're interested in hearing about politicians, great heroes, what did they do, rich people, what they do, like that. They spend their time like that instead of hearing Krishna Katha, which is elevating for them. Going to the next verse, text 19. So such persons are condemned by the supreme order of the Lord because they are averse to Krishna Katha. They are compared to stool-eating hogs. They give up hearing Krishna Katha and indulge hearing abominable activities of materialistic persons. What Prabhupada described in the previous purport is being directly spoken by Kapil Dev here in this verse. That they don't like to hear Krishna Katha, but they like to hear some other mundane Katha about other people, basically. And they're being compared to by Kapil Dev himself, not Prabhupada, not by anyone else. Kapil Dev, Supreme Lord's incarnation, is saying they're like hogs. Hogs, what do? They eat like to eat stool. If you give halwa, they don't like pigs. Hogs or pigs don't like. They'll eat their own stool like that. They understand. They don't. If you don't understand the value of Krishna Kada and spend time, it is like we are wasting time like hogs like that. We are focusing on wrong thing basically. Going to the 20th verse. So this section is criticizing the Sakama Karmis. Such materialist persons are allowed to go to the planet called Pitruloka through the southern course of sun. But they again come back to this planet and take birth in their own families, beginning again the same fruitive activities from birth to end of the life. So what is happening? They might even go to higher planet called Pitruloka. They might enjoy there for a long time. But then when the piety is diminished, Sine Punya Mutyaloke, like we know from Bhagavatam verse also. So after the piety is gone, they need to come back to this planet again. But because they're so attached to family life, they're so attached to enjoyment in the same way, they'll again doing the same thing and go to a higher planet, come back again. This keeps on going on basically. So they're not understanding the permanent solution to get out of this cycle. That is what is being described in the verse. Now going to the next verse, 21. When the results of this is verbalizing more clearly. When the results of their pious activities are exhausted, so Kapil Dev himself is saying, they fall down by higher arrangement and again come back to this planet. Just as any person who got a higher position come down. Like we know politicians who get to a higher position are then they need to fall down. Like that Prabhupada is explaining the purport. But if you're a devotee who's going back to the spiritual world by worshipping Supreme Lord, then you don't need to come back. That's what Prabhupada is describing with Bhagavata verse also here. Mam upetya tu kaunteya punarjanmana vidyate. You don't have another birth again. Krishna is assuring us in Bhagavata 8.16, 8th chapter, 16th verse. Anyone who attains my abode never comes back to this condition of material existence. So we need to look for permanent solution. That's what Kapil Dev is describing here. The next verse, 22nd verse. My dear mother, I therefore advise that you take shelter of Krishna, for his lotus feet are worth worshipping. So don't worry about all this Sakama worship and all that. You directly worship Krishna. That is the best path. Accept this with all devotion and love. For thus, you can be situated in a transcendental devotion service. Now, in this verse, he is telling directly worships Krishna. Bhakti is the best path. What he told in 11th verse is re-emphasizing again here now. This is a summary section. So he's telling, don't worry about this Jnana path, don't worry about yoga path, Ashtanga yoga path. Just to do bhakti. That's the best, like that he's telling for all of us. And then because Krishna's qualities and the form is so attractive, and Krishna, how he engages with devotees are so attractive, we don't need to divert our attention to somewhere else, he's saying. When the purport, Prabhupada is emphasizing, then we'll be attracted to. So we'll not be distracted also. If we focus on how I can develop my attraction to Krishna, how Krishna is so wonderful, like that we focus our attention, then we'll stay in the Krishna shelter like that. And not only that, Prabhupada is saying, by worshipping Krishna, we'll get material prosperity also and spiritual elevation also. So both, depending upon what we need, Krishna will arrange. So then what is the need to worship any other demigod? Like that, Prabhupada is emphasizing in the purport. So last two more verses today. 23rd verse. Now, here Kapil Dev is describing the basically bhakti, engagement in Krishna consciousness and application of devotion service unto Krishna make it possible to advance in knowledge and detachment, jnana and vairagya, as well as in self-realization. So, whatever you get from other paths, don't worry. When you do bhakti, you will get all those things also, he is telling. That means you will get knowledge also, you will get devotion, renunciation also, and then you get self-realization also. So all those things are coming with bhakti also. You don't need to do something else to get something else, like that is telling basically. So in this, Prabhupada is emphasizing that when we practice bhakti, we'll get all the qualities of the demigods. This is a verse given in the fifth canto also. That's what Prabhupada is emphasizing here. That and he's giving example of Mrigari the hunter, who was trying to kill the animals, half killing only. But when Nardmani found him and he guided him nicely in the path of bhakti, he later on, when Nardmani came to see, he was walking carefully by seeing on the ground. Why? So that ants are there in the ground. He doesn't want to step on the ants by mistake also. That is the great transformation one can experience by bhakti. Prabhupada is describing the purport. And not only we get knowledge, not only we get renunciation or detachment, but we also get Brahma Darshanam. That means we get a vision of the Supreme Lord. We can see Supreme Lord face to face as a person, not as a Brahma Jyoti, not as Paramatma. We can personally see the Supreme Lord, Bhagavan, in the Bhagavan feature face to face. That is the benefit of engaging in bhakti. So, last verse for today. Now, in this verse on verse, Kapil Dev is describing some of the symptoms of such a great devotee like that. What are some symptoms? He's saying the exalted devotee's mind becomes equipoised in sensory activities and is transcendental to which is agreeable and not agreeable. Basically, when somebody is pursuing bhakti and is become elevated in his consciousness, not in terms of some position in this con, some position in society, not like that. Elevation in terms of his consciousness, elevation in terms of his bhakti, in his relation of Krishna's sweetness, in his relation of Krishna as a protector, Krishna as a proprietor, Krishna as an enjoyer, like that. What does he do? He is equipoised. That means not so much worried about the material aspects like that. Doesn't mean he's negligent. He's not suffering because of the material conditions like that. So he says, whatever he does, whatever he thinks, is for the satisfaction of the personality of Godhead. So that peace is achieved when we try to do everything we can, everything we are doing for Krishna's pleasure. Instead of me, how can I enjoy? How can I get enjoyment from this? How can I get enjoyment like this? We need to shift our consciousness to how can I serve Krishna through this activity? How can I serve Krishna by taking care of my son? How can I serve Krishna by taking care of my wife? How can I serve Krishna by doing this service at the temple? Like that, when we transform our consciousness, then we can remain peaceful. But if you're thinking, how can I get more followers? How can I get more enjoyment? How can I get more happiness by doing this service? Then we'll fail miserably. That's what is being explained here. Because the devotee is elevated in consciousness, is thinking about serving Krishna. That is why actually he is beyond the modes because of that only. Because he's thinking about pleasing Krishna, that automatically takes him beyond modes. Taking beyond modes is not something totally different, that we need to do something, we'll achieve something after so many lifetimes when you become pure devotee, not like that. When our consciousness is not to enjoy myself, but to give enjoyment to Krishna, that itself is going beyond the modes like that, at least for that particular moment. Not necessarily we are liberated completely. So, and then this purport, Prabhupada explains, by accepting everything in spiritual vision, he is equipoised. This is a symptom of being elevated to transcendental position. Basically, such a devotee automatically attains detachment, vairagya, and also knowledge, and then actually transcendental knowledge. So, in this sense is become qualitatively one with Krishna is saying. What does that mean? That we already heard in Friday's class also, that our being one with Krishna means being one with the desires of Krishna. What Krishna wants from all of us. Krishna wants all of us to be happy. So when we are trying to us ourselves becoming happy through properly through devotion service, and we're trying to help others to become happy by engaging them in devotion service. That's how we are one in consciousness with Krishna. That is what is explained in Bhakti scriptures as oneness, not the becoming, I will also become God, not that one. Yeah. So essentially, we are hearing from this section so far that Sakama Karma worshippers achieve a temporary result and they will continue in the birth and death cycle. So they're subject to suffering. So instead of pursuing all the different indirect paths, we can directly do devotion service, bhakti to Krishna. That will help us to get all the results that other paths can give. And also it's easier path to go also. That's what we are hearing from this section. So we'll end here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha krupasindubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Thank you so much, devotees. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.